Good morning. Actually, it may not be morning where you are, wherever you're watching this. So I'm Jay Marshall. I'm the Director of Career Services, and I made the mistake of completing my Zoom profile, which is why I have this lovely avatar that makes me look ridiculous. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to lose the avatar. There we go. All right. So welcome to the Office of Career Services and our video today, which is going to be on resumes. It's going to be a series of videos on resumes and cover letters and some useful tips for job searching. But first, we're going to do resumes part one. Now, I wanted to get a PG rating for this video. I have done other resume workshops where I've maybe pushed the boundaries a bit on what was acceptable, particularly when you're recording it and putting it on a website that is affiliated with your school. So this is the more sanitized version of resumes and cover letters. I both apologize and celebrate that. So first thing I want to do is share my screen. And yes, there is a PowerPoint. There's always a PowerPoint. All right. So first of all, I'm Jay Marshall. I'm the Director of Career Services. There's a very good chance that you already know that. The easiest way to get a hold of me is usually through email, either at marshallj@elms.edu or at careers@elms.edu. This isn't like Rotten Tomatoes, though. I'm not looking for a Yelp review. It is just what it is. Okay. So first of all, I want to thank you. I want you to thank you for being here today and not using a class skip. If you're watching this in a classroom, I want to thank you for taking seriously how you present to employers and how you represent ELMS. I want to thank you for choosing ELMS for your education, and thank you for pursuing your education when you could instead be binge streaming videos on Netflix. I recently discovered that Netflix now has the Stars show Heels about wrestling. And I'm not only a big fan of Stephen Arnell, who was the Arrow in Green Arrow on the CW, but he also stars in that show. And growing up, wrestling was really a big thing. So I'm going off on a tangent. So I'm just going to move along. Some of the feedback I've been given is that I go off on a tangent. The other feedback I've received is that my videos are too long. So rather than make them shorter, I'm just going to do them in multiple parts. So most of you should already know how to access the website and how to access Elms Connect. In that, if you click on students, well, I have to click on students because I have multiple options, but right here you can see, because I've scribbled in bright red, it's probably like a scarlet, that there is a link for career services. Click on that, and it takes you to the Career Services Elms Connect page. A lot of cool stuff on here. All right, maybe I oversold that. There's a lot of useful tools on here. And if you click on resources and samples, you find a professional resume template, also information about federal resumes, some good action verb lists that will become important as we get a little deeper into it, and a resume master and a resume review tool. And this is the template for the resume. It's a good conservative template that will serve you well, that will resonate with employers who you're applying to, and will put you in good shape. And then we can just worry about making sure that you spelled words correctly and put things in the right order. Now, there's also this formal resume review tool, and it goes over everything I'm going to look at and all the numerous things I may tear your resume apart for. So it is in your interest to take a look at this ahead of time, because I have a lot of red ink, and I'm willing to make your resume red instead of a white background. And this is just a basic review checklist version that is almost like a fun game you can play with a friend. You know, give each other your resume. Okay, maybe I ever sold that too. It's something you can do with a friend. You can share each other's resumes and critique them using this, and it gives you a way to do a score at the end. Sort of like Yahtzee, just without the dice. Do people still play Yahtzee? One of the number one questions I'm asked by students is, what the heck's a cover letter? Do I have to use a cover letter? Can I just send in my resume without a cover letter? No, you have to send in a cover letter. What is a cover letter? It's kind of how you introduce your resume and your candidacy. And there's a great handout here on how to write one. There'll also be a video on cover letters that used to be a part of this really long video. But because there were complaints that the video was too long, it'll now be shorter. All right, but this is what it looks like. And it actually breaks down the formula for a cover letter. Everything you need to know from the introductory paragraph. Actually, I'll even start ahead of that. I'll tell you what to put at the top, how to address it, all that good stuff. We call that foreshadowing. That'll be in like video 3 or video 4. Something to look forward to. Buy your advance tickets now. Now, resumes and cover letters. Resumes and cover letters are subjective, sort of like science is. One smug career professional is going to tell you it's got to be in this font. One's going to tell you that they hate the format. Another's going to tell you they want to see it look a particular way. If you're working with a staffing agency, they're going to tell you they want every single date down to the day because they want you to be that specific. One recruiter is going to tell you they like that you're honest, that you were fired. There is a huge range of opinions. But the reason you should listen to me is that for the past 25 plus years, when I've worked with people on their resumes, I've gotten them interviews for jobs they had no business getting interviews for. And sometimes they got the job. Now, the thing about resumes that no one's going to tell you is that they're pass-fail. Maybe you've had a class that's pass-fail. And so your resume and cover letter have one job and one job only. What is that? It's to get you an interview. It's to get you an interview. Anything more than that is just bonus. If you get an interview, you can show me your resume and I can tell you it looks like a ransom note. And if it got you an interview, it's good enough. It's good enough to go. And so it's all about getting the interview, because once you get into the interview, anything can happen. You can make it impossible for them to hire one of the other candidates. Even if they know going into it that they have this person on staff who they love and think is amazing, if you go in there and perform to your best ability, you may make it impossible for them to hire that other candidate. I have done that. I have gone into a room where I knew they wanted to hire from within the preferred candidate, and I just worked my magic. And at the end, I was offered the job and I worked there. Now, I had to take a different route home every day, but nonetheless, I got the job. You can do the same thing, but you got to get in the room. So we're going to talk about some common mistakes that people make on their resumes. I've already shown you what a good template looks like, but let's talk about some common mistakes. And it's usually about format. I didn't used to say that before I got to Elms. I used to say it was the writing and that the format didn't matter. Boy, was I wrong. There are a number of different templates. In fact, the ones I'm about to show you are all available in Microsoft Office. And they all have one thing in common. They're horrible. They're awful. Don't use them. They're terrible. They're gonna remove you from consideration even before a human being looks at them. These are god awful. Don't use these. I'm really trying hard not to use profanity, but these are horrible. Awful. Awful. First of all, your resume must never say hello, right? It's getting a little familiar. Also, avoid the red or green resume. Hopefully, Google Docs has finally taken that down. Those were just atrocious. And if you send it to me, the rivers will run red with the ink from my pen on your resume because these are just abysmal. I'm running out of adjectives. And what a lot of these have in common is that they're fancy. They feature style over substance, but don't give you enough room to do your credentials, qualifications, and abilities justice. Instead, we've got this silly looking photograph. And we've got these dumb icons on the bottom. It looks like a cleat, somebody swimming, someone playing video games, and someone playing golf under hobbies. Here's a pro tip. Don't include your hobbies. You don't include your hobbies on a resume. Unless you're applying to be an accountant and your hobbies include bookkeeping and balancing your checkbook, don't include your hobbies. If you're going to be a salesperson and your hobbies include persuading people to buy things they don't need or want, then you can include that. Otherwise, do not include it. So we're going to talk about format, right? And what I like about the resume I've shown you is there's a place to create your brand, right? To share with the employer what your value proposition is. And that usually starts off with the name of your major because you're a college student and, you know, how you're going to be of use to them. You know, why should they hire you and not the other candidate? Make a case. And then we'll add a couple bullet points. What we don't want to do is write a paragraph because no one's going to read a paragraph. Then we're going to get into your education. Right now, that's probably your most valuable commodity is your education or your work towards that education. In 60 years, when that degree in computer programming you got is probably not going to be as valuable then. What's going to be valuable will be the 60 years of experience you have. But for right now, it's probably going to be your education. And then there's a place to put in our core competencies. Now we're going to break down what those are, but primarily I'm looking for hard skills here. So if it's sales, put marketing, put, you know, things that you've actually done, but and can do, right? I don't put that I'm a thoracic surgeon because the patient would die. And we're going to go into our job experience. This is all formatted very nicely. There's some tips, right? Related projects. Maybe you're working on a capstone for your major. Maybe you've had the opportunity to do some research with a professor. Maybe you did something over the summer that you're really proud of. We can highlight it here. Other less germane, right, less relevant experience, we're going to put here, maybe just one bullet. Maybe it's that job at the Dunkin' Donuts, right? And then you can put community involvement. My nightmare, and I probably shared this with you, is that I wake up screaming at 2 o'clock in the morning, usually because I'm reliving the helmet catch in the Super Bowl against the Giants, but also because a student comes to see me, and in my nightmare, all they have is their degree. And I ask them, oh, what have you done for work? And they've never worked a day in their life. And I say, okay, did you play a sport? And they haven't played a sport a day in their life. And I say, oh, what clubs are you a part of? Wait for it. They haven't been a part of a club a single day of their life. Well, what volunteer work have you done? I think you see where this is headed. And so we just have a blank sheet of paper with their degree. So please, please, please get involved with something. I don't even care what it is, as long as it's not illegal. Get involved with something so that we can put it on your resume. Right now you're thinking, what was on the inappropriate version of this workshop? Yeah, well, all right. And then we get into what has historically been the worst problem for resumes with college students, and it's bad writing. And I'm going to tell you, it doesn't matter what format you use if your resume has typos, misspelled words, and bad grammar. Those are just going to tackle the recruiter, and you're going to be ruled out. Now, proofreading, so important. It's got to be pristine and perfect. Think of it as that paper that you've got to submit to improve your grade point average so you don't go on academic probation. You want it to be proofread that well. Mistakes actually belie the education you're putting on the resume. Also, words that don't make sense are a problem. And I have had to, and this is now I'm stretching into the cover letter a little bit, but I have had to read cover letters where I've just been, I reread the sentence 7 times and I still don't know what you're trying to say. That's problematic. Spelling matters. If you don't spell it correctly, now you have no excuse, right? You have something called a cell phone and it comes with Google, right? When I was your age, I had to crawl across a dusty, debris-strewn floor on a really worn-out carpet in the library up to this altar where a very heavy book lay, and that was the dictionary. And I had to try to figure out how to spell the word. And given that I wasn't spelling it correctly, it took several times until I could kind of find it. You don't have to leave your chair. Just use your phone. The power of the universe is before you. Also, use that Google because you may be like, oh, this is a power word, triple word score, a la Scrabble. This is going to dazzle them. The problem is it doesn't mean what you think it means. And so always check that. I do this all the time, and I'm glad I do because there have been many times I've been working on a paper and it's like 11 o'clock at night because I'm also in school. I may have mentioned that 70 times. And I'm like, oh, this word's perfect. And then I go, I better double check that. And I Google and I found out it doesn't mean what I think it meant. So learn from my experience. I think this is one of the most powerful phrases ever uttered. Also, pronouns include I, they, she, he, you, it, we. Don't use them on your resume. Verboten, that's German for forbidden. And if it's German, you know it's serious. Don't do it. Don't use it. You can identify what your pronouns are. That's different. Like at the top, uh, pronouns, he, him, his, great, fine. But don't use them in the narrative of the resume. Can't do it. That's an automatic disqualifier, and your resume will end up in the trash heap. This was never a problem before we had cell phones, but for some reason, y'all are committing these random acts of capitalization where there's no rhyme or reason, just some words are capitalized, others aren't. Sometimes it's the second letter of the word that's capitalized. You really got to rein that in. You got to be on point because the interview is literally at stake. Also, don't count on autocorrect. It is plotting against you, and it's not going to know. You're not going to see it. After you've been working on this for 6 or 8 hours, you're not going to see that you used the wrong there, but it's going to leap off the page and tackle the recruiter. And autocorrect's plotting against you. It's going to auto-change words in a way, maybe not a way that you intended it to change it. Also, I love templates. I'm offering you a template. There are some templates out there that you've got to be careful with because, you probably just got this new laptop because you're going to Elms College and it's rocking the latest version of Microsoft Office. But over here in the HR department, we're still rocking XP. You probably never even heard of Microsoft XP. Google it. And so when we open your Word document that you sent and you made it a point to send us a 1-page resume, when I open it, it generates a second page. And you know what comes with that second page? That same auto piece that says insert name here. Now it looks like you just were sloppy and you didn't edit. You can avoid that by using a PDF format when you submit. Also, if Midge in HR hates you, she can't go in and mess with it unless she really gets well versed in Adobe Pro. And that's going to take some effort. So you must have done something really bad to tick Midge off. So we'll just go with that. I just want to make sure that your resume isn't laminated and passed around each year at the Christmas party. Don't send it out unless 2 others have looked at it. Now, how long do employers look at your resume? It's changed. It's actually gone down since when I started. It's down to 6 seconds. They have reams and reams of resumes, and they're literally going, yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. I like this font. I hate this format. That's not how you spell that. 6 seconds. When I started, it was 30 seconds. Now we're down to 6. So all dollar values are increased. Now, resumes are always evolving. What we did 10 years ago, we laugh at now. And so while we don't want to apply with that 1950s classic, we also don't want to be overly trendy because, to be honest, the HR recruiter is probably closer to my age than to your age. And so that graphically dynamic resume you put out, it's probably horrifying to them. Admit it, right now you're more shocked that I had hair than the fact that I had long hair. Anyway, no headshots, no glam shots on your resume. Not doing it. Also, don't spend like 6 hours on the color wheel picking out the perfect shade of salmon to really make your resume pop, because I'm here to tell you that most HR departments don't have color printers, and for that matter, they also don't have color photocopiers. So this beautiful pastel creation you formatted is all going to be a horrible faded shade of gray. That's going to be hard to read and looks washed out. When you go to the interview, assuming there is one, you can bring color copies because you have what they say in the criminal justice major is termed chain of custody. Now, probably wondering where the footnotes on your resume go and if you should be using APA format, MLA, or Chicago. No, you don't have to have a works cited sheet. But this is my opportunity to tell you to stop using references available upon request. We haven't done that since 2006. It makes you look foolish. They're going to ask for references if they want them. So much better to actually have a separate reference page with the same header so it looks like a complete set, like you know what you're doing. Remove hyperlinks. Nobody wants a document that has a live hyperlink in it. You can have a link, just remove the hyperlink. And you do that by moving your mouse over it, clicking on it, and then removing hyperlink. Please do that. Few things cause me as much psychic discomfort as live hyperlinks. Also, font size matters. I'm getting to an age where if it's at a certain size, I can't read it any better than I can read my prescription bottles, right? We want to be between a 10-point and a 12-point font. Anything bigger than a 12-point font, I think you have a narcissistic personality disorder. Anything smaller than that, and I got to get out an electron microscope to read it. I think I need to increase my prescription. Also, everything on your resume has to be in reverse chronological order. That means that which comes first comes first. Let me try that again in a different way. That means whatever is most recent or current goes first. So high school doesn't go first. You're at Elms College. Elms College is going to go first. And then when you get your master's degree or start pursuing your master's degree, that's going to go first, followed by bachelor's degree, followed by, actually, we're going to stop including high school. And so that first job you had as a kid, babysitting, well, we're not going to include that. But that job you had at Dollar General when you were 16, that's not going first. Your most recent job is going to go first, and then the next most recent. And we're going to make sure to change the tense for any job we're not currently working. I don't suppose anyone has any idea what this is a picture of. Also, I was talking before about competencies. And when I talk about competencies, I'm really talking about hard skills. I'm just using a fancier word so it'll resonate with the recruiter. So when I talk about competencies, I'm talking about hard skills as opposed to personal characteristics. So For example, I'm MBTI certified. I am certified to interpret your MBTI assessment. My dog likes to think he's friendly. One of those is a hard skill. One of those is a soft skill. My other dog is Bright Spots Therapy certified. She is licensed to dog in nursing homes, libraries. Kids go to read to her because it's easier to read to a dog who really doesn't care or actually can't tell if you got the word wrong as long as you're rubbing her belly. She even has a license, as you can see, in a vest. I like to think I'm honest. One of those two things is a hard skill. The other is a soft skill. Now, it's often said that hard skills will get you hired and soft skills will keep you employed. So it's going to be really important throughout the resume and the cover letter that we show, don't tell. We want to prove anything we're saying. So this is an awesome slide that is very descriptive, humorous, yet informative. I have a dog. She is cute. But if I show you Franny and she has her ball in her mouth, a picture is worth 1,000 words. You need to paint a picture for the recruiter. So don't tell me you've got great leadership. Show me you've got great leadership by telling me about how you organized the bake sale and raised for your club over 1,000, over 100, okay, $10. And most of that was from Dr. Costin, who kind of took pity on you. We really got to talk about your chocolate chip cookie recipes. Kind of mid, let's be honest. In descriptions, don't tell me you went to meetings. That's how you end up in front of a congressional hearing being asked to name names. All right, that's a little bit of an obscure historical reference, but this is my video, so I'm gonna lead with it. Careful about being religious. We live in a very secular world, and some people will get deeply offended if they see something religious on there. And so you want to be very careful. And I'm saying that at a Catholic college. You just have to be very careful. Also avoid being political. Right now, you're having one of two possible reactions to this photograph. One of two. And most importantly, showcase enthusiasm for the job. I don't just want to hire somebody who needs a job. I want to hire somebody who's excited for this job because this is what they were meant to do. This was their calling. They woke up and realized, oh my goodness, it is my life's purpose to be a work study student for the Career Services Office. That's the person I want to hire, not the person who's like, I could work there. A paycheck's a paycheck. You were worried this was going to become karaoke. I want you to tailor the objective and then the entire resume to what the specifications in the job ad or job description are. Oddly enough, Harvard University, Westfield State College, and many others are now offering courses on Taylor Swift and her lyrics. That is the current state of higher education. Now, most employers prefer a profile over an objective. An objective tells an employer what you want. Employers don't care what you want, usually. They want to know what you can do for them. And the profile, as I mentioned before, is your chance to make your value proposition of what you can do for them. Do include at the top, right under the summary, using those bullets, any languages you have. Employers find this incredibly valuable. Even computer languages. I may not know what SQL is. I may not know what Python is, but I'm impressed by it. Generally speaking, your most valuable asset for your value proposition is going to be your education at this point. And so that is going to come right after the summary. It sounds like I'm beating a dead horse. There is a PETA protest going on right now outside my very office. Great news! This is the end of part 1. The bad news is there is a part 2, but thank you for attending part 1 of resumes, cover letters, job searching, and other fine things. And I will look forward to seeing you for part 2.